Hello!
Hello.
Welcome back to Okay We're Up Late. At the late hour of 8:45 Central Time. Why is that?
You poor thing.
Weird, it's an hour earlier, Allison. Why would that be?
Your poor, like performing persona that you have to put on. It's devastating.
I don't know how to...
You're on my
I
blanket.
suppose I could just start talking like a normal person.
I know. It seems so painful.
It kind of is.
To shift into this horrible
I don't know why I decided that was the thing I needed to do to start these, instead of just going like, hey, what's up? We're bored and lonely.
Poor thing.
How's everybody doing? I would first like to start with an apology to Cassandra for calling your image a Funko Pop, because now we know what it is.
I'm not sorry. It looks like a Funko Pop from a distance, and you should know that.
I was apologizing anyway.
It's cute.
You're making that blanket look real good.
I know what it is, and it's cute. It's a good photo, but I would tell you if you had food in your teeth, too. So, your photo from a distance looks like a Funko Pop. And I love and appreciate you.
From a distance,
Can I not say both at the same time? Can I not say both? Can I not say that I love and appreciate you and your image looks like a Funko Pop?
I think that seems fair. Why? How do you have a VGHS shirt?
I don't have a lot of friends, so that might be... Wait, are you in Texas?
Yep, we sure are. We're visiting Texas
nobody because no one's here.
Yeah, the unfortunate circumstances have resulted in me and Allison desperately coming to Texas trying to get around some people, and all those people leaving at the same time, so we've just been back at the house we used to be in alone for days.
Yeah.
But they're supposed to come back tomorrow, so that'll be cool. I don't know if you might even recognize this room from something. I don't know. Presumably we've been in here before on videos. And as you can see, we're here for a reason, but I'm not going to tell you what the reason is. You can just see that it's complicated. From my wall over here, my plan wall. I realized I can plan everything with nodes. Also, I have a VGHS shirt because I donated to the Season 2 Kickstarter. So it's honestly the best shirt I've ever had. It still has not worn out. It's great.
It's so comfortable.
It's so old, and it's still perfect. Ahem. So yeah, that's what's going on in our lives.
This is liquor.
That is liquor. It honestly hasn't been that hard of a few days.
I'm having such a bad day.
It's been decent. Most of the day
Speak
was
for
good.
yourself. I'm having a terrible day.
We watched some bad movies, and we're very easily affected.
We watched Poor Things.
We watched one really bad movie.
We watched Poor Things, and I'm really, 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 really upset that it not only got made, but that people have the audacity to enjoy it.
We were told not to.
To not watch it?
Yeah.
By who?
By my mom.
Oh, right. That's why I watched it. Kyle's mom was like, I put it on and I hated it. And I was like, well, now I'm really curious because Kyle's mom doesn't have a lot of strong negative feelings about things.
You even said that to her and she was like, no, don't watch it. And now here we are.
I now know fully to trust your mom's opinion on most things.
Actually, yeah.
That was
right.
It was a hand on the stove moment for me, and it worked. It was a terrible movie.
Oh, Mepec got a Patreon shirt. That's awesome. I'm glad that that's shipping out well. I saw the hobo stickers were arriving. Anyway,
what happened?
Sorry.
Oh, anyway.
Yeah.
Backdoor says, my parents watched it and told me about it. That's a little weird.
Oh.
It's not a tell about
I
movie.
mean, that's what happened to us, too.
Well, that's true.
My parents watched it, told
that's
us about
true.
it, and then said, don't go
Sorry,
watch it.
Sorry, they didn't tell us any details, just that it's not worth watching.
Kyle, is your mom one of those easygoing, amenable people? Those aren't words I'd use, necessarily.
But also, yes. Like,
in a sense.
But the type of person they're imagining is maybe your mom.
You think so?
She's easygoing and amenable on the outside. And I think that's what people mean when they ask
She's
that.
not combative.
She's not combative.
She's still very stressed.
But she's... I think she is what people
she's
mean.
non-combative, for sure.
Yeah. And she is not antagonistic.
But high strung is accurate.
Yeah.
Look at me. Where do you think this comes from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She has great energy to be around. Like
I agree,
very
yes.
zen energy,
I have a great mom.
despite maybe noticing that she has some high-strunkedness to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't say more positive things right away.
You don't have to
My
say...
mom was great.
No, I think...
I'm saying that going forward that she will not be watching this.
The only silence I'm having is assessing whether or not the question is she easygoing and amenable, which is not a word I know.
Amenable.
Amenable.
Amenable? Amenable.
The pause is determining whether or not she is
Ready
or
or
is
willing
she...
to answer, act, agree, or yield. Open to influence, persuasion, or advice. Agreeable, submissive, or tractable.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I was in the middle of saying something.
Sorry.
I don't remember what it was. Oh, right. It was whether or not to answer the question about whether she is or whether she is perceived to be by most. The answer, she is not, but she is perceived to be by most,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. That sounds accurate.
Is maybe the best way to put it. And I
Yes.
think when people are asking, they're asking about perception.
Yeah.
Well, I think she's that way. I think you will think she's that way.
Yes. I think she's actually a high-tension, strong-willed person in disguise. In good ways. I mean those positively. But yeah. Anyway, the movie's terrible.
Has mixed up amenable and amiable.
Amiable.
I don't
yeah,
know
you're right. We're
either
saying two
of
different
those
words.
words.
Amiable is not a word. Amiable is... Well, they're similar, though, right? Because amiable is... having or displaying a friendly or pleasant manner. An amiable, unassuming fellow.
They sound very similar for also meaning similar things.
Yes, I agree. I don't know why
they
we need
look
both
very
of these
similar.
words. I think we should combine them into amenable, and then we won't have this issue.
Because they really are applicable.
Until we have a better title, I'm naming this episode Amenicable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amicable. That's the one in my brain.
That's the third one.
That's
Why
the
are
one
there
my
so
brain
many of
wanted
this
it to
word?
be.
Wait, hold on.
Wait. Amicable is the last word with a C.
Of relations between people, having a spirit of friendliness without serious disagreement.
Wait, go
or
back to
rancor.
the last word.
An amicable, so that's not a description of a person.
Go back to the last word.
Amiable.
So it's the same word with a C?
And then amenable.
Amicable is that word with a C.
Yes, but apparently this describes a person, whereas this describes a relationship. You have an amicable relationship with someone. You are not amicable. You are amiable.
Wonderful.
The movie sucked.
It was really, really depressing to watch. It was maybe one of the most offensive portrayals of women I've ever seen. And there's certainly a trend in Hollywood of extremely regressive characterizations under the guise of empowerment that is depressing me to no end. Just continually depressing me as they keep handing out money to people who are like, no, this one is for the feminists, and then it keeps being mostly terrible and not for the feminists. I don't really know who it's for, because it's certainly not... I know exactly who it's for. It's for men. But, like, not just men, it's
the writers.
Sort of... Not just writers. I think it's for a sect of men that are specifically interested in the power and enjoyment of allyship, maybe, without any of the hard, detailed thought and like self-reflection that goes into it.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And I don't mean to say men as like a men. I mean to say it as like that. It's entirely focused on that gaze first, right? Like if you had to break, like who's gonna watch this movie into two groups, men, like with an outlier of some women on accident. You know, like who was this audience intended for when this guy wrote the book the movie is based on? Men, because it was what, like the 40s? When did he write this stupid book?
No. One, I apologize for interrupting you twice.
Oh, that's okay.
specifically to talk about how I wasn't going to interrupt you.
What's this bitch written?
2. Eagle Scout says it sounds like we need a palate cleanser. Yes.
92?
Avatar after
I thought
this.
this book was written in the 1800s with how fucking nonsense it was. Oh my god.
And Cassandra said now we have her attention and asked what it's called again. It's...
The movie?
Yeah. What's
Poor Things.
Poor Things, that's right.
You should watch RRR instead. We love RRR.
Yeah,
and we
really
should watch it again.
That's a great idea. We should do
How
that.
many times have we seen it? 5?
So
6?
many.
It's time for 7.
I would keep watching.
It is time for 7.
Especially after this. Are there any, like, okay images to show of this movie?
Yeah, looks like your save search is on at least.
This is mostly fine. It's also incredibly disappointing.
Are you gonna show?
Yeah. I think, yes, it feels like a pat on the back from the writers to themselves. At the expense of women. And it's really disappointing how many people are in it. That I thought were maybe kind of chill.
Backdoor says, I was told it was supposed to be a gender-swapped interpretation of Frankenstein. Yes, if the gender that was swapped was the writer, and the interpretation was dog shit, then yes, agree.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, if they didn't read the original book at all.
Like the Frankenstein book?
Yeah.
Yeah, the gender swap importance was
the Frankenstein comparison is a thin veneer at best. Like, there's really no reason for it to be Frankenstein related.
And also, the themes and points in Frankenstein are not relevant
at
all.
No, it doesn't even touch on the same subjects. There's nothing adaptation about it.
The fact says, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's okay.
I'm surprised how highly rated it is. And this is the second major movie media thing that I have felt this gaslit over, because other ones don't. Like Barbie, no gaslighting. I know why people enjoyed the Barbie movie, but the only other thing that felt this way, where every single positive review felt absolutely shoehorned into existence and paid for 90% of the time on any other service, is Big Mouth.
Oh yeah.
That shit was nuts.
It's also bad.
That was one of the worst things I ever watched. And was it Jon Stewart?
No, it was Stephen Colbert.
But it was another late night person. It was Stephen Colbert, and it was John Mulaney.
Seth Meyers.
It was a bunch of fucking funny people who were like, "Oh yeah, we really need to watch Big Mouth."
Well, John Mulaney's in it, but also, who cares?
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I forgot. Anyway,
definitely wasn't Jon Stewart.
It feels like that's the same level of gaslighting here is these two things where people are like, this is one of the best things I ever saw. It's satire. No, it's bad. It's bad.
To describe real fast what the fuck we're talking about, because Cassandra asked.
Well, okay, first, before you say anything, it's very hard to talk about the details of the show without them being extremely 18+.
Yeah, that's true.
Very 18+.
I was going to cover maybe the generals and then let people fill in the blanks, because it's not hard to fill in the blanks.
If we go into the details, I will go into the details, and I can't cover it in a...
We might have already saved Cassandra. She was saying she wanted to go watch it because we were selling her on how bad it was, but then we compared it to Big Mouth, that fixed it. If we can try to explain why it's not even worth watching, it's literally someone somehow doing the sexy baby trope the worst way possible in 2024, because the premise of the movie is that a woman gets her unborn baby's brain put into her body, and then that goes for a very long hour and a half, yeah, I don't know. Nothing about it is surprising. There's a lot of stuff that I also hate from an art perspective, because there's just so many choices that they made to be artistic about it. But it's all the stuff you expect them to do. It's black and white for a while. The soundtrack is terrible. The camera angle is fisheye for no reason.
Did you tell them the premise?
Yeah.
Did I miss it?
I told him that the premise was that the woman had her baby's brain put in her, and so it's a baby in a woman body interacting with a lot of men, with men trying to be self-aware about how terrible men are, and but somehow ignoring the woman in it. I don't know. It's just dudes writing a story about an abstract story about the plight of a woman without understanding anything that they're talking about. And it's just weird that it came out this year.
The only plight of this woman, and I guess all women, is that they are regularly taken advantage of sexually for their whole life.
And that singular female experience.
That is something men think is really, really progressive to talk about. And when I say men, I don't mean men. I mean, like, 65-year-old Hollywood fucking married 18-time losers.
Right. Sorry,
right?
we're
Like,
talking about shitty,
I wish there was another
self-aggrandizing
word.
Hollywood writers.
Another category.
Artistes.
Artistes.
Those guys, the Tarantinos and such.
But yeah, it's just really frustrating to
Have
have fought your whole life to not be perceived as like sexual objects, only to get into adulthood, have men be like, no, totally understand that must have been terrible, and then make movies where the only point is that you are sexually objectified, but like, yeah, for the point though, you know,
for kind of like for the I get it-ness of the whole thing, like, and again there's so many actors in it that are just like, it's just every time you see somebody pop up, you're like, come on, man. Like, everybody who's in it.
So, Cassandra, I will say, to maybe get you off of the should I watch it, it's like 3.5 hours long.
Is it actually, or did it just feel that long?
We were 50 minutes in when we realized we had another hour and 40 left.
Is that really? Jeez.
Yeah, so I don't know how long that is.
It really was. As somebody who enjoys watching bad movies for the fun, it's not one of those. The only reason she stuck with it is because she wanted to be able to argue against anybody who said it was good later. I would not have stuck it out. I would have stopped really early.
That makes me sound so broken. Like, but I did.
Sorry.
I watched it so that I could cover my bases when people were like, well, what did you think about... Or I thought it was really empowering when, so I could tell them specifically how and why they were wrong. Because it's important to me. Writing female characters is very important to me. And to write it, a similar vein as the last rant I went on, right? Which was, if you're gonna like something I like it well. In similar energy, if you're going to write something I care about, don't humiliate everybody. Don't humiliate me. Don't humiliate women under the guise of, like, female empowerment. It's very frustrating. And it's so common. This, like, no, it's empowering to you. A bunch of people tell me this is empowering to you. 20 people.
I was going to say, I'm really sorry for anybody who is tired of us just, like, going on movie rants, but we have 20 people watching again, so it must be enjoyable.
I don't think all streams are going to be like this. We're sort of in this...
We're in a media exploration phase.
Transitioning between a lot of stuff right now, and so the streams are rare. When they do happen, it's because I'm like, we gotta fucking stream. True. I miss people, we gotta talk. And I couldn't play Persona because Persona has some problems.
That's
that
true.
I didn't feel like
it wasn't the right energy for tonight.
Cherry on top of this cake, I was not.
I jumped the gun on announcing that. I apologize to anybody who was expecting it.
I was like, what makes you think I can play Persona right now? Like, this is all I've been dealing with today.
It's a bad choice.
So it's definitely not like Velocipaster.
No, that sounds great, and I would love to watch that.
Yes, please tell us more, actually. That sounds incredible. No, I'd rather watch... Oh, God. I'd rather watch those scary movie knockoffs than that again.
Yeah.
I'd rather stare at a wall for a solid 40 minutes. I'd rather do mostly anything. And, admittedly...
Wait. Elven Lady says the book does the one thing you said would have redeemed the movie.
No, it doesn't.
Halfway through, she was like, there's one thing that would redeem this. She says the book itself actually sounds interesting. The baby brain is an invention by Bella's husband. Like, it's made up.
Expand on this.
Yeah,
because
if what you mean is it's a lie.
I paused the movie not halfway, but within the first 50 minutes, and I said, I think there's a way they could turn this, like, horror show around. If they were going to. I could tell they weren't, but I felt like there was a way to still go back. Like, they had done a lot of damage, but I did think they could turn it around with some reality on top of everything, but I'm very curious.
Yeah, I am too, because they didn't do that in the movie. That was not a part. So if it was in the book, that means they intentionally excluded that detail.
The Velocipaster is about a Catholic priest who turns into a dinosaur and fights crime and also drug-dealing Christian ninjas.
You didn't have to keep selling. I'm already on board.
It's also really frustrating because, so Bella's husband wrote an autobiography using Gothic motifs, and then after that presented Bella...
After that's presented...
Oh, that's... Okay.
Oh, okay. So it's like a book in a book kind of thing, like. But it sounds like the book might actually have been more interesting, and they ruined it in the movie.
I mean, basically, like, if the twist was psychosis, there was a way to, like, develop it more, but the twist was not psychosis.
The author pretends to be presenting fictional historical documents. So it sounds like what actually happens is that a bunch of idiots misinterpreted a book and made a shitty movie off of it, and then paid for a bunch of good reviews. Because I have too much faith in humanity still somehow to believe that everyone loved this movie. I just can't buy that.
So, and, like, here's what really sucks. This movie has the most amount of sex in any movie I've ever seen, really.
Yeah.
And maybe you're like, what a bonus. And you're like, that's what I like in my movies. I'm not here to judge. A little bit, but... maybe the next thing is you're like, oh, and Emma Stone's in this movie. I love Emma Stone. And Emma Stone has a ton of sex in the movie. Well, I'm here to ruin it because she's actually a child.
Yeah.
So you can't enjoy any of the things that you might normally enjoy in a consenting adult Hollywood movie about sex because it's actually non-consenting child brain stuff.
That is, yeah.
And it never stops being that.
Yeah.
So... yeah, it sounds like the people who made this movie really fucked it up because also...
that's kind of incredible to know, actually. I'm glad you looked that up because I didn't know that information.
I read an interview with the guy who was writing the movie, that fucker over there.
Yeah. They look like that, don't they?
You don't have to show it. Anyway, the interview was basically like, tell us about how this is such a feminism, you know?
Such a feminism.
And... he was talking about how, like, in the third act, it was hard to write because in the book, she gets, like, re-kidnapped by the people who love her, etc. They were like, we didn't want to do that. We wanted to give her the empowering choice of, like, choosing to go back to her family or whatever because, like, she's a woman full of curiosity and, like, so she makes the decision herself. And I'm like, that sucks. Like, she should have, like... it's bad writing. Like, there wasn't consistent writing. There wasn't consistent characters. There was, like... and it was ugly. Like, I know that for the sake of absurdism, you can feel like you can use that excuse to get away with basically anything. Like, oh, well, it looks bad because it's absurdist. Well, it's like you put a shitty filter on it. Like, a shitty filter. There are parts of this movie that look like they half-assed the worst CGI from Alice in Wonderland. Like, literally... and then took out half the VFX artists, said, we don't know what we want, and then set people onto the VFX of this movie. It was one of the ugliest movies I've ever seen.
The cinematography was so boring. It was so absurd
there was no
to somehow be so boring. Yeah, I know. It was just like...
it was just different cameras.
Let's set the camera way back here and put it on a fisheye, and everybody will look weird because they're bending around the edges of the frame. That was basically it. There was no, like communication.
Meaningless. They were meaningless in tone. Like, the camera angles were meaningless in tone.
Yeah, exactly.
So... what? Hollywood ruined an original piece of media in a remake? No way. Yeah, wow. Isn't that, What a great start to 2024. Let's just fuck up every single...
The wild thing to me is that somehow this combined with the Avatar show being released and the butchering of the women in that show actually, like, I didn't expect this connection to happen in my head, but, like, we watched this and I was like, oh, those things are related.
What things?
The Avatar show and this movie are actually connected in my head. Because what they're showing is that no one gets anything still. And the people who are still producing things are trying so hard to appear like they're, I don't know, on board with feminism or something. Or like, you know, that they're revealing how little they understand any of the problems they cause. By trying to show that they have a handle on them.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what format it's in. If it's remaking a children's show, or if it's making this disgusting, like, art film in the biggest, most sarcastic quotes I've ever used in my life, it's the same thing. It's the same issue. They just don't get it at all.
I want to say there's a few people who have showed interest in watching it, surely for the, like, shock of it or whatever. I genuinely want to say that, again, one of the worst crimes, despite all of the terrible decisions, is it's not very interesting. Like, you're not really rooting for anybody. The characters are not well done. It's grotesque in not fun ways. It's not sexy or violent or anything.
Yeah.
It's truly just a very poorly told story of a complicated topic that didn't need to be told because it's not happening. Like, because that's not because there is no woman with a 3-year-old in her fucking brain, and she's not a nymphomaniac.
It's not even a good metaphor for anything.
That's not happening in real life, and it doesn't speak to any woman's story. Like, again, you can watch it, but genuinely save yourself the time. It's not even bad enough to enjoy. It's just sort of like...
So it's not just grotesque and a problem, it's also a bad movie the same way Morbius is? Yeah.
It has a lot of, like writer artistic circle jerk energy.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you can tell that the people who did make it just think they're fucking geniuses, which always gets under my skin. I can just tell when they're just eating up their own creation like it's the most brilliant thing they've ever done.
They were like, man, should a man at the end be the reason that she feels comfortable and is kind of the savior of the whole story? Yes. High five. Let's go.
Right. There's the one... Oh, sorry. There you go.
Anyway, that's how it feels. Like, they literally, they wrote something and were like, bro, yo, what if...
Yeah.
What if she's naked the whole time?
The reason that we hate this is because we've interacted with these people in real life, and so I know you and I, you can both, you can picture Emma Stone just gushing over this to the writer because you just have to do that, right?
Yeah.
You know that happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know for a fact that event happened in a room, and I just hate that. I hate that, people were, complimenting each other over this movie and being like, oh, that's such a smart decision to make. It communicates the themes, so I just hate knowing.
Cassandra says, well, they finally fixed sexism. They deserve to be proud. Emma Stone said this is her favorite role and favorite character ever, and I think that's her attempt at a shit Oscar grab or something.
Yeah,
because
it's all just
such an embarrassment.
Dumb marketing.
So the plus thing, the good things people say about this movie, is that if it's satire, that it's deconstructing the born sexy yesterday trope, which is the sexy alien baby trope that we've talked about before, the adult woman with a child mind, except it didn't deconstruct it, it just did it. And so what is it called when you're deconstructing something in a satirical manner by simply just doing it again without the commentary?
Well, it's called just doing that thing. It's not deconstructing at all.
That's right. It's called just doing the thing.
It's not. This is the achy breaky theory.
This is actually a movie about deconstructing the over-sexualization of women in movies. So we just sort of over-sexualized all the women in our movie. But it's commentary on how that's not good. You're supposed to hate the movie.
Yeah.
You know? It's supposed to be a bad movie.
We made it to be bad on purpose.
Yeah,
you just don't understand.
It's supposed to be terrible because it's commentary on bad movies. This is actually, I feel like a Fight Club stand now.
It's like someone being like, we decided to deconstruct the idea of pornography by making one.
Yeah.
That's then just full stop. That's all we did. We just made porn.
And it's actually really empowering when you think about it, because it was deconstructing
it. Henry said, constructing? Yeah, I think, yes, that's correct. Elven Lady said lamp shading, which is interesting, because...
I don't know if I know what that is.
Because that would actually be... They didn't even do that. Lamp shading is calling out what is calling out what you're doing in something. So, we used to call this one guy in Lost Professor Lampshade. He was just this extra who would just point out things that the audience said, why Hurley wasn't losing weight even though they're trapped on an island or whatever.
Right.
The Guardians of the Galaxy does lampshading a lot, and I actually usually hate it because so lampshading works episodically. If retroactively you're like, oh yeah, that wasn't good, and then you lampshade it later, you bring up oh yeah, that was a dumb thing we did, that's fine. If you work it into your script, then just go change the script if you already know that it's bad. This wasn't either of those things. This was just them doing the thing, and then if you look up interviews, then they're like, oh yeah, no, it was deconstruction. But if you can't tell what it is from the work, it didn't work.
I also just
It didn't work out the way you intended it.
this stuff makes me mad enough that it's like, just take me back to the dead hooker days of female representation. Like, just don't put me in your movie.
Yeah.
Kill me, throw me in a dumpster.
Honestly.
I relate to it more than this.
It's worse. It's actually
It's
worse.
genuinely taking us 8 steps back. Like, please just make me a no-name man-talking dumpster hooker. I would prefer it. Genuinely. Put me out of my fucking misery before I have to watch another movie with another man who's like, this is feminism.
I'm also interested in talking about lampshading. It's just a different topic. That's my only point.
Yeah. I see what lampshade... I did know what that was. I didn't.
Yeah.
Anyway. So I should have
yeah.
also known because I was like not sure what the movie was going to be about at all, so I went to Reddit and I typed in poor things and it was actually just
Oh, and everyone loved it.
No, it was only porn subreddits.
Oh.
Not talking about it. Clipping it. For porn.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And I thought, oh, well, maybe... I didn't think much of it, actually. And then I watched the movie and I was like, oh, that's all it is. So... Let's make fun of this trope. Actually, no, that trope is fun. Let's use it anyway. That's very funny. Anyway, so you guys should recommend movies for us to watch or TV shows or something, because I need a palate cleanser. Probably not something, terrible. Yeah. Oh, Heaven Sent. Is this the Doctor Who episode you're talking about, Heaven Sent?
No, it must not be. It's got to be the movie, right?
Well, someone mentioned they wanted your opinion on Doctor Who, and then they wanted about the Heaven Sent. I think it's the same person. Let me know.
Okay.
But yeah, I was looking it up to see what it was. There's also a movie, Christmas movie, but I don't think it's that one.
Probably not, right?
So, anyway. Henry is on it. So says, what are they talking about? A bad movie called Poor Things. Don't watch it, even for the hate. I just don't. It's just not... Despite having all the sex you could possibly imagine in a movie that turns it into porn, it's still not interesting.
Oh, I've seen the episode. It's incredible. In case I'm caught up. I know Heaven Sent. It's one of the best Doctor Who episodes ever made.
That's about the wall?
Yeah, it's the one with him. Yeah, trapped in the with the wall.
I should watch that.
Trapped in the weird limbo space.
I've only seen that once. Infinity Train. All I have to do for the next couple weeks is just...
That's not the one Thomas was talking about, right?
All I have to do is watch stuff, so keep them coming, and I'll watch your shows.
Oh, it's animated. It's a different thing.
Oh,
Infinity! I've seen pieces of this.
Yeah,
we never watched the rest of it.
Years ago once.
Yeah.
Why didn't I keep watching this?
I don't know, we kind of accidentally drop things all the time, honestly, even if they're unless they just really grabs our attention.
I think the show had kind of a slow lo-fi feel, which I have to be really in the mood for.
It was during that Steven Universe era where I didn't really watch animation much.
And the Gravity Falls era where that was really...
vibe I wanted. But I've heard Gravity Falls is incredible from multiple people too, so I...
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch Gravity Falls. I've tried it too many times, it didn't work. I'm sure it's good, I just don't know.
Backdoor thinks I would like it, but you wouldn't like most of it.
He's probably fucking right.
Probably.
What isn't he right
Backdoor knows
about?
us better than we do.
We should watch it.
Yeah, I'd be willing to try it again.
Got 2 votes for Infinity Train. Oh, right, Mr. Matt. Oh, man, I almost put that on the other day, Backdoor.
I actually think Zachary brought up an interesting counterexample.
Of what?
He brought up Wolf of Wall Street. He asked how we would feel about that.
I quite like it.
And I actually think that's interesting because, I actually think Wolf of Wall Street is a very well-made movie.
Yeah.
That while I hate the subject of the movie, the people that they're talking about, it's because they're telling a story about terrible people, which was the point. And I'm along for that ride. It was good. It was actually it was a well-presented story about shitty people doing shitty things.
If you guys can make a list and put it in the Discord and tag me, I will watch the shows you recommend as best and as fast as I can.
Yeah. That could be what this stream becomes.
I actually want to do this, and because you guys agree with us on a lot of stuff, so I know your taste is good. Or if you just want me to angry watch something, I will.
Yeah. Which Discord should we
What were you just talking about?
Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, I quite like... Is the AC on? Did you turn it off?
No, but it may have just hit the temperature we set it at.
I like Wolf of Wall Street quite a bit. Not because I like... Well, I guess the difference between you and Wolf of Wall Street was you kind of feel the same way about it, except you just hate the content.
No, yeah, that's what I was saying.
Right.
I did not like the subject or the people, or I wasn't it was which you're not supposed to, but that's the whole point. I was checking to see which thing they could put it in. Put it in, recommend
Why not just the stream one or whatever?
I don't actually have a public stream one is the problem. I didn't want to tell them to go put it in Patreon in case some people couldn't get to it.
Okay.
So maybe go do it in Twitch. That's a stream channel.
Okay.
There's a Twitch channel inside the Discord. You can send us suggestions in there.
I will watch Infinity Train. That'll be first. Because that was the first thing mentioned, I think. Over the Garden Wall sounds familiar. Which is not Over the Hedge. Which is a stupid movie.
Wolf of Wall Street is what you were talking about.
Right.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of trying... I guess Wolf of Wall Street did not present... I guess the... Wolf of Wall Street is one of those, like, hate the audience, like the film kind of things.
The writers aren't on the side of the people in the movie. And you can tell...
Right.
By the way that they make the movie. That's the
right.
we live. Allison literally came up with an idea today that we should try to write a book talking about like a guidebook on like how to not insert yourself too hard into your own writing.
But like a coffee book, right? Like a coffee table book, not like a, but like a, like a large,
like a handy guide.
Yeah, open it to pretty pictures and mild discussions on how everything you've ever loved is actually full of your favorite writer's fetishes instead of their actual ability to write.
Yeah.
You probably just share the same fetish.
Right. And Wolf of Wall Street, to me, did not feel that way. It felt like...
Yeah,
somebody...
I'm trying to remember a lot of Wolf of Wall Street. I remember thinking he looked just like the sweatiest, sleaziest, grossest.
I thought it
was a commentary on men that I actually fully agreed with, which is like, hey,
and it's
good on you for the societal successes you did have, and also, man, you suck.
Because I don't know if everyone took that away from it, though. I think
people really liked it.
Some people watched it and were like, oh, that looks cool.
What an icon.
But I think if you watch it with, like, if you... Like, there aren't characters in the film calling out the other characters, but, like, it's not a happy story. It doesn't make you, the audience, like those people. It does not, like, present them glamorously. They're acting like their lives are glamorous, but it's all pretty disgusting the whole time. Like, I don't know, it's just, it's a different feel.
I have a controversial take that cannot leave this room. Do not put it in the edits. I will never forgive you.
I think that's the only debate.
I am majority straight, which means that I like men. At the end of the day, they're like the brain rot up here is that I like men, and we've talked about things that men do, right? Like exclusive to men, and I think we talked about it on stream too.
I think we have,
like specifically like
positive things
that like not dissecting the bigger. Societal impact or Sandra's booing me or or like how the brain functions, none of that stuff. It's very surface level, all in
just
good
things
fun.
That you find cute, like when a cat backflips off a wall or something
right,
like that. Yeah.
Like the difference between cats and dogs, which is also genderless or whatever. But like boys always pick up all of the extra church chairs or eat all of the extra food that you don't want, right? Like it's just, there's just cute fun things about them sometimes. And I think Wolf of Wall Street kind of presents men in this comically, cartoonishly enjoyable way that is not attractive, but is also not abhorrent to me. Like, he's a terrible person, but the Matthew McConaughey, like...
Oh, the chest bit? Because it's ridiculous, right?
Yes!
It's just like nuts.
But it's so man.
But then the part
it's
that
so silly, goofy, like, let's
agree.
beat our chest at this fucking table in the middle of a fancy
restaurant. But then they show you
restaurant.
Also how it's like, how gross that gets when it's rich. Like,
yeah.
Like it's like that, and it's like, oh, but also, they have immense power.
But, like, some of the comedy in it that I enjoyed was just, like, this sort of commentary on, like, what men are both good at and why they're gross for it.
I think that's what it is, though. I think those kind of people in real life talk themselves up, and that movie, to me, felt like, let's put a camera in there, and we could all just watch how cool it actually is. And you watch, and you're like, oh, not that cool.
Yeah. Right, not that cool.
Yeah.
Kind of lame. But, like...
Kind of really lame, actually.
It has a lot of male energy in what I would describe as, like, very, very hilarious. Like,
I get
almost enjoyable. Like, this one. This is kind of a good... This kind of energy. Like, I swear men only behave like this around other men, and being able to kind of see it... This one, too. Oops, spit all over the place. There's just something, like, genuinely so addicting about when men get together and like, regress back into, like, monkey
Return
brain.
to monkey.
And it's like... I can't speak for everybody. I can't speak for all men. Can't speak for all women. But we don't, like... I've never... Like, and I don't know anybody who has... Like in this, it's
That is
just
true.
it's not the same. You put
I
us
also
in
have
this,
never done whatever this is in this image right here.
and I think and this is why we're married, because
Yeah.
the reality of it is not fun. But like you put a bunch of girls in Wolf of Wall Street, you gender swap the whole thing, different movie, in the same way that the matriarch isn't the same as the patriarch. So it's just like something addictingly interesting about the honest,
Right.
disgusting representation.
Because there's a fun version of this
of
too.
this.
There's a non-gross version of this, I think, in real life that I think is captured by some other characters, like, I don't know, like Sokka, or your brother, I think, is a great version of
Yeah,
this. He has
okay.
whatever that quality is when you split it from its badness.
Yeah.
Of, like, I don't know, Thomas would just do reckless shit sometimes that, like, neither of us would do. And it's
Yeah.
just very man, and it's, like, in, like, a good way. I don't know.
And I think I don't know, it's just the silly, goofy things that I watch men do. Like, yeah, like cats jumping at cucumbers or whatever. Like when men, not in the presence of women, grab their faces like this.
Yeah,
like
right.
they're so
Right, to prove how
homoerotic
not
around
gay
each
they
other.
are.
Like, it's just incredible who they call when they're struck. I thought the movie was brilliant,
I'm
actually.
so interested in this that most of my go-to like D&D character or fictional thing
Yes.
is Rodriguez El Cazaro.
Right, there's
that character type, this giant,
so addicting.
muscular, totally not gay guy that can't help but like be incredibly emotional and do stupid things, and like I don't know, it's great.
Yeah, no,
There's something I love about it.
thank you for confirming. Anyway,
I get
tell
that. That
nobody.
makes sense.
This is amongst friends. This is us hanging out.
Before that tangent, I was gonna, I think, say something else that may have been a branch off of what somebody was talking about in here, and I don't remember what it was. It might have just been, Zachary asked if we've seen Mr. Robot, and it made me, I have seen season 1, but it was a really long time ago before I thought this stuff through, and I don't remember
Cassandra gets it.
if it held up, honestly. I remember that it tried for the era, but I don't know if it's actually, like, conscious of itself in the same way. So I'd be curious to see it again.
Interesting. Kayla says, is that men are allowed to be more immature in a way that women aren't?
It's not even quite that.
Well, as an umbrella conversation, I completely agree.
Well, yes. I mean, yes. The answer to that question is that, does that happen?
I think
yes.
social norms play into all of it, but also
But that's not really what
women
you're
just
talking
aren't
about.
doing the same things anyway, whether social or not. Like, again, no commentary on how or why these differences exist, because I'm sure that's a different conversation that I am willing to engage in later. But only just the very realistic, practical aspect, which is that women do not do the same thing in the same situations, but we do an equivalent different thing.
Well, the thing
right?
you're talking about is very subtle. Like,
What's-
the difference you're talking about,
Oh,
the
okay.
behavioral difference you're talking about is very subtle and doesn't really have, I'd say, like a good or bad association one way or the other.
Sure.
And it is about it, like it, but it's not. And that's why I mean, like, it's not about immaturity, because I think immaturity has a negative connotation to it, and it's not quite what you're talking about. I don't think, if I understand correctly.
Say it again.
She was asking about if it's men being allowed to be more immature than women. I'm saying that's not what you're talking about.
It's not quite what I'm talking about.
It's not quite the right shade.
It's not the reason I enjoy it. I think that it's part of why the men behave the way they do, but it has no impact on whether or not it is the refreshing part of it.
That's not the part you're saying you like.
Right, no. It's just the sheer ridiculousness of it that is unironically what probably actually happened. This actually happens in The Great also, which is that they do
Yeah, they do a good
ridiculously
job.
stupid, unbelievable, irresponsible, homoerotic shit constantly. And the funny part isn't that it happened in the show, it's that it very much happens in real life, and I get to see a realistic perspective on kind of how it goes.
I'm trying to think of a nerfed version of it, because the problem is you usually see it in men in power when what they're doing is causing harm to other people.
Yeah.
But there's got to be a version that is just innocuous, you know, and I can't quite think about what that would be.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any thoughts. But
No, I don't. I've been trying kind of passively to think of other examples and stuff.
Mostly because they are
I
in
think
power and
I
they do hurt people.
glance
but-
over like Fight Club, which is not the same. I don't enjoy it. I don't think it does the same stuff.
Bodybuilding, to me, kind of has this vibe.
Okay.
It doesn't hurt anybody else, it's kind of a weird thing
Oh.
to get into being like the way that it's depicted, at least in like media and stuff, and also I think it's just the way it is in real life.
A-Team. I
The
felt this way
A-Team?
about A-Team.
Okay.
But again, my taste was less refined. But the one that came out forever ago with the Mr. T.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the first one.
Felt the same way when I watched that movie as a high schooler of just like, this was the silliest man shit I ever saw. And if I'm gonna say anything about men, it's that you guys have the silliest, most fucking homoerotic times together, these men, whatever they're doing. Like, at football teams,
I think it's great,
you
though.
guys are wild. And it's fun to watch when the movie is about men being men and not about
Process-
women for men to watch. And I think that's a big difference because Wolf of Wall Street really focuses on the men. And I even like the way the women are presented through their lens because it feels like a big part of the connection between one, which is that they're basically irrelevant. Like, it doesn't matter. It's
RRR. Exactly correct.
Yes,
that is the
RRR,
positive
yes,
version of what
thank
we're talking
you.
about. Every aspect of that movie, it's why it's great and it's
So
amazing.
good.
And if men were just that, the world would be fine. Everything would be
that
okay.
fucking ghost orb?
No. Did we get a ghost orb? Did we
Like
find
the
orbs?
most clear ghost orb I've ever
Narrow it
seen
down.
in my life.
Find the list. Cross off the ones that don't have ghost orbs. We're gonna figure this out.
Anyway, yes, RRR, yes, we're getting there.
Yeah, that's right.
RRR
Well-
is exactly why I can validate my straightness. Is because there is something just
'Cause
so wonderfully amazing about the way men choose to perceive themselves that is like, that's incredible. Like,
Any
that's so
masculine
good.
part of, that I have about me is also that too.
Yeah.
Like I definitely like desire a little bit, about as much as you were attracted to it. I want it.
This is kind of why Barbie falls flat because that was like our chance.
Yeah.
And we just like didn't do it the
True.
same because we're just as cool. But in like a totally different way of how we see ourselves and what we would do in those situations. But like the over the top like superhero perspective men have on themselves is fucking addicting. Like
Yeah.
Like and the handshakes, like the energy of just like this one of just like
Oh yeah, no, yeah, the midair.
so good. I love this about you.
Top
Never
Gun.
change.
Top Gun is the old version of this for sure.
Never saw Top Gun.
It definitely was like the old, like, Top Gun is not about women at all. It's just about bros being bros and playing volleyball shirtless on the beach like bros do. Also, Krell earlier, I just wanted to shout out because he said it sounds like whenever men make a bonfire, which I think is also a perfect example.
The pyromaniacness, I'm like not that much of a fan of, but it's in the category.
Again, only if it's hurting other people is it a problem.
Right.
But if it doesn't, then it's fine, and it's just fun. It's just fun as hell.
Yeah.
Some people don't know what RRR is, and I goddamn if I can recommend one movie to you, go watch RRR. It's so long.
Yeah.
It's not in English.
If you remind him,
but
it'll be on his gravestone.
One of
It'll be
my
like, Go
favorite
watch
movies
RRR.
of all time.
It's an incredible movie. It is a Bollywood movie, but Americanized. Like, I don't know how to.
I mean, all Bollywood is kind of American. I don't know. I can't compare it
in
to other
English.
Bollywood because I don't watch Bollywood generally. But it made me want to because yeah. It's so incredible.
Why did Cassandra say Sarah Lynn multiple times?
I don't know.
Explain yourself. I'm curious, not mad.
The fact that I used to roll my eyes at the Bollywood vibe, and honestly now I just love it. It's so fun. I actually kicked myself over not liking it before. American movies could improve so much by taking more from the Bollywood genre. It's anime. It's just live action anime. They don't give a fuck. They're like, this is the emotion we're going for. We are punching it up to 11.
Yeah.
And using every tool in the book to like communicate what we're doing right here. And honestly, if the Marvel movies had been more Bollywood, they would have been better. It would have been significantly better. They would have been actual art. It would have been great.
Yeah, I actually just thought of a really sad point, which is like men, devoid of women, kind of okay. Like, separated entirely from the classes of oppression that they failed to, like, identify.
Yeah.
They're fun. Like if you took the whole world and you kind of, like, took all of the women and other oppressed class that men would, rape and kill or whatever, the world left would be hilarious. Like, hilarious. It would be just the craziest shit you ever saw. Like, imagine just a bunch of 7-year-olds started running things. And I was thinking, like, what would it be like reverse? Like, what is the woman's, like version of this. I'm actually struggling because so much of women's personalities is shaped around men. Like whether it is whether it is direct conflict response or appeasement. Like I'm trying to think of things that are like more
the cultural
unique.
Identity of women is kind of built around the world that they don't.
Not all of it.
Own,
I don't want to say all of it because I
yeah.
don't think that's true. But I'm like so much of it feels like a struggle, and also feels different. Like it's held to a different standard. Like let's say we do like makeup and glitter. My first thought is almost like, do we like makeup or is it like a promoted concept? But men have to be the same way.
That sounds like
do
the
men
eternal
like
struggle.
bombs or is it just like promoted to them through movies?
I think a lot of men know that they like bombs, like unequivocally. I don't think there's
like in
that
their
much
gut,
of a struggle.
like they're born, they turn 3 and they're like,
Yeah.
boom, I just want to see things explode.
Kinda. I think probably. I don't even.
I feel the same, but like glitter instead.
Yeah.
Like instead
I mean,
of fire,
and maybe you
glitter.
just do. I don't know. It's always hard to like.
But you don't think
hard
any
to
of it was
separate.
like promoted through like media and stuff?
I think
like
it certainly could have. Well, that I struggle with that personally, like figuring out like I don't know if every person does, but like I have had to split apart like how many things do I actually like and how many things were I told that I should and then just didn't question because because I was just told I was supposed to be. However, I've met men who were definitely like, no, you're just into those things, and that's pretty common.
why don't young girls feel the way about fire that young boys do? And I've always wondered this because it was too like they didn't watch a movie where everything went up in flames. You're just like 4 and there's like let's light things on fire energy. I'm really curious like why I never felt that. Like fires are pretty, yeah, obviously, but I'm just not like ooh yeah, let's light things on fire in the same way that I was like saw continuously over and over with boys.
Right.
So like what is the equivalent? Like what is the girl thing? By like 3 there's an innate like
I do think that is hammed up a lot. Like I do think that is like artificially increased because if you just left children alone without presenting gender norms to them, it'd be a much bigger mix. Especially because like at this point
true.
I feel like we've all learned very much how much of a construct gender is, and the body you're born with does not necessarily match any part of your brain, much less your specific interests.
Yeah.
So like I do not think it is as stark as it comes across.
Yeah.
But I do think it takes maybe just one loud kid that's real into, I don't know, bulldozers or whatever. Is that like that's something that I've noticed. Maybe like explosions and stuff all feel very gendered, violence and men and all that stuff and whatever. But like maybe this is just experience of mine because this doesn't ever seem to be pushed. How many people who are grown up, socialized as a girl, but like I'm talking about like the age of 4 when you don't really have a gender.
Right.
How many 4-year-old girls are into dump trucks?
Oh.
How often does that happen? Because Reed, my brother, super into construction vehicles at one point, and I don't know where that came from. Like he wasn't. Nobody in my family is like my dad does not push masculinity at all. My mom certainly doesn't. But Reed was just like, I love backhoes when he was 3.
A very specific bad example for this.
Okay.
Because I liked dump trucks, and the only
Did
reason...
you?
No, not really. The only reason I liked it is because when I was in that before kindergarten class, preschool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was in preschool, and there wasn't anything. This was the saddest preschool you ever went to, but there was one car that still worked. It was a dump truck, and I liked the dump truck because it still actually all the wheels moved. I liked it. I went over to go play with it. And another girl who hated my guts because my name was Allison. Preschool. Preschool and the woman on women hate existed already.
Yeah, right. Like it has to be applied
she was so
immediately.
mad that I was playing with it and I didn't give it to her to play with, that she picked up the truck and threw it at my face and gave me my first black eye ever.
Wow.
So I actually have a weird dump truck story, which is that she apparently likes him so fucking much. Anyway, what was expected is that people are immediately going like, I know women that like fire.
Yeah. Which
obviously, right?
Yeah.
Like the point is not like, can you think of an individual who likes explosions and fires that isn't part of the gender norm? It's how much like midline, like what is the right thing?
The question is, would there be a divide in a vacuum without the outside influences? And you can't actually know the answer because we don't have like a lab experiment.
No?
Because I would assume no, but maybe I genuinely don't know. To counter my own point, I didn't give a fuck about dump trucks. So I'm 50-50 on young male children liking dump trucks.
I wonder if interest is just squashed early in women, like for explosions and fire.
That could very easily be true because, like you said, you were 4 and were already experiencing another woman hating you for no reason other than she was probably taught to.
And also, I think about the fire stuff, and by the time it was like a big deal, it was probably closer to like early middle school when boys were like, "Let's go get the gasoline and start throwing it around the yard."
Right.
And I guess by that point, I was too responsible. Like, I had been told not to play with fire. I had been told it was bad. Like, there was an element of responsibility, like social responsibility on me to make sure people weren't being dangerous. Like men, like other boys, So if anything, I'm now curious if, like, it is exactly the same and just, like, scolded earlier for women than men.
That makes sense, actually. I bet that is a big part of it,
But also you're not... But, like, by 4, like...
Right.
By 5, is it really the same? Like, you're gonna, like, by 5 you tell girls, like, young girls, like, no fire.
Right.
But boys, it's like, oh, that's a little cute. Like, is that what's happening?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is happening. So that, that definitely.
But is it the only thing that's happening, or is there like a fire DNA here and like a glitter DNA?
But I guess that's my whole point, is that you can't know. But also, I have to assume no.
But there's the other thing is everyone is like, I know girls that like fire, I like explosions. Where are the boys that you knew at 3 that liked pink and glitter? Like, it's the other one never goes the same way, right? Like, so if it only goes one way, how do you even know that by the time you're 4, you're not just adopting male hobbies, like perceived male hobbies? Like, how do you know that it's a you interest and not just an interpreted interest from a group that dominates whether or not something should or should not be interesting? Like, how do you know?
Right.
I think the only way you can know if that's happening is if the other party shows any interest in yours, and if they don't, then it means that there's crossover from one being the dominating factor of whether or not something is exciting for even children, then, like, because or else it would go the other way. You know, like, young boys would have higher interest in
Well, I assume there's a little bit of both, though, because I assume, at least when I was growing up, if you were a young boy who showed interest in glitter, you were met with resistance for that thing, so that would also be squashed. Like, it went both ways, just to some degree. I do think boys' interests were squashed less. Like, they definitely, like, had, like, the dominion of boy interests was much larger. The dominion of acceptable boy interests was much larger than the girl ones, right? But if you crossed into the girl ones, that was still bad, and you still got, like, you know, at best, kind of an uncomfortable response from your dad, and at worst, called gay and slapped or something. Like, I don't know, like, you know, you probably just didn't get to have those interests even as a boy.
Yeah.
From the other side of the line.
I'm kind of curious. It must be socialization, because you know what? One of my favorite things to do... Oh, wait, no. I might have just been weird. I was gonna say, one of my favorite things to do was to dig for worms.
Yeah.
And, like, play with worms all the time. I would get a bucket just to dump every worm that I found into the bucket.
Yeah.
Now I'm remembering nobody wanted to do that
but
with me.
But you're thinking
Men and women didn't want to... Neither wanted to do it.
But if you were a guy, you wouldn't think it was weird that you had done that, and you wouldn't think to preface that by saying maybe it was weird because that is a thing that young boys are expected to do.
Right, someone mentioned mud and sticks, and I was like, oh yeah, I did like mud and sticks a lot.
Yeah. Which goes against the gender norms or whatever.
But some things are universal, like fireworks, sparkly explosions.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Everybody likes sparkly explosions.
Fire, like I'm this is growing in my head. Yeah. Fire is a universal human interest.
Oh, an interesting sort of tangent. Guatam, maybe.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's how you say it. A weird trend I've seen recently is a lot of women love true crime, specifically the gore aspects of it.
That's definitely socialization, but...
Well...
That's not a genetic thing.
Okay, so...
Is my point. There's a reason women are all into true crime.
But all of the people that I know that like really gory things are in fact women.
Yeah.
And I think that there is... a mild reason for this, like, and I say mild because it's not thought about well, but I actually think that a lot of women's interests come from validation of experiences.
Yeah.
And gore is, like, way more, like, there's this horrible aspect of existing as a woman where gore simply exists inherently to some degree, and no one's allowed to talk about it.
This was going to be my point.
Really?
Men don't have to deal with any consequences of anything. Like, that is the whole,
Well,
whole
definitely.
thing. You don't have to deal with the consequences of your body, of thinking about your physical self, of your actions, of other people's actions. Like, there just is no, like, yeah, as a woman, you were faced constantly with,
But my point was a little
your
different.
own, like everything. I don't know, like,
But specifically the gore.
Yeah, I mean, yes,
Like the
I
bloody
agree.
guts version of it.
Yes, honing into this specific point, yes. The like women have periods, they give birth, they have
Too true.
terrible experiences in the medical fields that men don't have.
Well, not
like,
by the
there's
age
all
of, like,
kinds
10.
of stuff.
But
But the 10-year-olds aren't listening to the true crime.
Yeah, no,
The
that's
30-year-olds
definitely
are.
true. The gore aspect for like adult people, but even like in high school, all the women that I knew really liked gory things. And I actually think there's like a empathy issue here, which is that like one of the most interesting things is that I remember from my own personal experience, not speaking on a bigger thing, was that women when talking about gore and like watching movies had this visual interest in it and like the design aspect of it, and men would get queasy, like they'd start to feel strange, like a boyfriend described it as like they felt the thing happening.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you not feel that about every movie, everything all the time? Like, by the time someone is chopping off an arm, it's like, I watched every movie where I felt everything that was happening, every emotion, every feeling, every slap or fight or yell or scream or like whatever. So it's like, by the time you're cutting off an arm and like blood is spraying, it's so not violent compared to the violence of like reality to some degree.
Yeah.
Right?
I completely agree. Men
I
are
think,
just
like,
not exposed to anything that is uncomfortable.
But I'm talking about fake slashers, so like switching into like the gore of like true crime is kind of a different, interesting thing. Where I think your point
I
kind
think
of
that's
comes
validation too,
into
like
play
you said.
more.
Like women, like it's comforting in a weird way.
Yeah.
In the same way that I find comfort listening to Behind the Bastards and learning how terrible the world is, because it's like, oh, okay, this isn't isolated to just me.
Yeah.
This is the way everything functions. There are con artists everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's not just me experiencing this. I assume it's the same thing with true crime.
Yeah.
Where, it's like,
I think a lot of
you live your life in fear, and then you hear all these things, and it's like, okay, this is like a universal sort of experience.
I think there's also classifications that women enjoy, and so one important aspect of true crime that is deeply relatable and cathartic is the pattern recognition process, which is women feel comfort in understanding how mostly men came to commit the crime that was committed, right? So the interesting part is like, can I identify these factors and can I avoid them with my whole life, as you're constantly told that you have to anyway. And so there's that aspect of it. And then I think there's this like extra little horror aspect at the end, which is like, what version of man am I dealing with, right? Chop you up into little pieces or like slice your throat, right? Where am I putting these classifications, since my whole life has already like kind of revolved around if men are going to hurt or not hurt me? It's like, which, like a puzzle, like a little crime thing yourself. It's like, oh, okay, so this is like serial killer vibe, and this is like gonna choke you while you're sleeping vibe, and so it's like there's kind of this like cathartic, realistic version of like, okay, who am I with? What are the things? What are the signs? And don't get me wrong, there's also this whole side of true crime that is like true brain rot, like full-blown fear-mongering garbageness, but
I actually completely get this then, because this is exactly how I feel listening to all the other stuff. My predator is rich scam artists instead. It's not just all men. It's just people in power and people with money, and so that's what I learned about. But it's the same process in my head for sure.
All right, I promise I'm going back and reading your comments. They are not ignored. Let's
Probably
see.
missed a lot in the last few minutes.
Yeah,
though.
Sorry, we got ahead of ourselves. I will be reading them. Let's see. Backdoor says, every human has the innate desire to make things. How this manifests individually through gender is pretty variable. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't think gender means anything at this point in my life.
My younger sister was pretty big on fire as a small child. Were you? Like, I'm always curious when people say that. Is it like a...
Well, that's what Reed was big on trucks,
is there always
but I
just
wasn't.
one then? Like, Thomas was the fire one, not me.
Yeah.
Who was the fire one?
Reed.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rage is definitely more fire than I was.
So is there always just one? Like,
Maybe.
one is the fire
Maybe
one?
that's
Like,
just a sibling
every
thing.
other kid has to be the fire one?
Yeah, regardless of gender.
Regardless.
Which element are you?
Yeah. Let's see. I've definitely known young male children that like glitter. Pink, not so much. Poor Pink. Poor Pink.
Pink's such a good color.
I personally like glitter and pink. Although I was made to feel bad about the pink thing, so I dropped it. Yeah, I was made to feel bad about the pink thing.
Yeah, true.
By women
because
and
at one
men.
point it stopped being okay to like women were only being women well if they were being kind of men.
But the point is the same, which is that there were interest in things like pink and glitter with an overlap, presumably, of fire and worms, but one of them was stomped out. Right? Like,
exactly.
It happened so young, though. That's what I was theorizing, is could it actually happen that young? And it sounds like yes.
Yeah.
Like, immediately. Like, everyone might like fire. We'll never know. Because the socialization is like, boom. Like you're one and it's like, stop it! It's boy shit. Silly girl. Or girl shit, whatever. When I lived in Africa, the thought was pink was a male color.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah. I love playing with worms and
Yeah,
snails.
who-
Oh, the
Who
snails!
came up with it?
I
Snails are
loved
cool.
playing with snails.
I
I
always
would
liked snails.
race my snails and adopt the fastest one.
Snails are also just kind of like objectively fun, I think.
Yeah.
I'm sure
This
some
is
people
very
hate 'em, but
interesting.
it is.
My baby brother is really into glitter.
Validation of experiences is socialization. That's a interesting point, actually.
Everybody likes fireworks. Everybody likes fireworks.
Yeah.
I literally have the entire Saw lore memorized back to front. Please, oh my god, me too. I tried.
I thought you were just saying that for a second.
No,
I
it was
know you were
Crusader,
reading.
and oh my god, because I can't. And so you must know my pain, which is that you can never get anybody to watch it, no matter how good the bad lore is. No matter how, no matter, like, you can't sell Saw by being like, it's better than you think, it's just not good, but the twist is worth knowing, but I can't tell you the twist because then there's no reason to watch the movies because they're just sad. Like, Kyle's never gonna watch Saw. I get it.
But
It's
you
fine.
already told me the important parts, so why would I watch them
But
now?
only because I knew you were never gonna watch them.
Yeah.
I like the gore in Saw. Something about it is so... I don't know. I don't know. There's something. It's just the silliest, stupidest thing I ever like. It's the test part too. Like everything about it is just like, I don't know, man. There's one where it's like two people in a room. They're both gonna die. That's Saw. But like you have to give the most flesh to like get out of the room.
Okay.
Like literally pounds of it. And one guy. Feel free to just tune out. He starts cutting, like, skin and fat, right? Because heavy, right? He's fat.
Okay.
But this other chick, absolute icon, I think about her every day of my life, just hacks off her fucking arm. Brilliant. Brilliant. I wouldn't have thought of that. She's just like, pew! Throws it in the thing. It's incredible. It's incredible. There's just something. He looks like he's about to throw up.
No, I just don't know what to do. I don't have the connection to it. It's just kind of information
I wish I could
to me.
explain that a little bit better. Like, I wish I could truly make a little more sense of it.
I am curious, not enough to have the experiences to get me into that space,
Well,
if I'm
have
being
you
honest.
seen the
but
first? Did I show you the first one?
No.
The first one's not gory. The first movie starts off as like a psychological. There's actually no gore except maybe like the very end, but it's not anything more than like I don't know, an Avenger movie probably. Like,
Yeah.
It's not really. The concept is gory. It's mentally gory.
Sure.
I don't know, man. Somebody else makes sense of it. I haven't figured out the Saw thing yet. Somebody else figure it out. Tell me the brain rot, because I can't. I don't know why I like.
Cassandra says that actor got in the role, cast in the role by winning a contest.
Really? Oh, for being a horror scream queen. That's incredible. Anyway. Anyway.
Alright, well, what are we calling this episode, guys?
What did we start? I feel so much better.
Good.
I was having such a bad day.
I knew it would help.
I'm gonna watch all your shows, by
That's
the way.
always helpful.
I'm gonna watch Avatar tonight, though. But then I will watch your shows tomorrow, because I
Yeah.
have nothing to do. Yeah. What is it about Saw? Somebody fucking...
Give us push the buttons and also episode titles. Because currently it's just Amenicable.
Yeah, that's not...
Which does not encapsulate what we talked about today. The arson
I think it
episode.
should be men go to Jupiter to get more stupider, and women go to Mars to get what? What did they get at Mars?
I don't remember.
Men go to Jupiter
I always hated that stuff,
to
too.
get more stupider.
You know, I genuinely always just hated gender stuff as a kid.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just thinking back on, like, hearing that kind of stuff, and I was always just like, stop! This is so dumb, and I don't want to be in either category.
I had the biggest crush on this kid whose name was Andrew in 2nd grade. I was fucked from the beginning. So I had a crush in 2nd grade, which is like, there was already something wrong. Anyway, the thing I liked about Andrew...
Quick pause. Hold that thought. Backdoor. I pirated it. Not giving Netflix money. Don't worry about it. Anyway. Go
Right.
for it.
He liked dinosaurs an obsessive amount. Like this kid had no personality other than dinosaurs. And I would sit across from him at lunch, which he hated, and I would like ask him more about dinosaurs just to get him to talk to me, and he hated my fucking guts. I was obsessed with it. He just had no interest. I think he could tell I liked him, but we were, again, in 2nd grade, which I think is like 6? How old is a 2nd grader? Too young to have
6,
crushes,
7.
probably. So, doesn't matter. That fucking kid hated my guts. Anyway, I
Girls
liked
go
him
to college
because
to get more knowledge. That's what it was.
that's not equivalent to Jupiter.
No.
That's a different...
The rhyme didn't make sense.
It's planets.
There wasn't any
Girls
cohesion
go to college
it.
to get more knowledge. Boys go to...
They were children. We were dumb. We were all pretty stupid.
I wonder how Andrew's doing. He was really, really... So, the thing is that he was actually deeply autistic. Like...
Oh, yeah, okay.
He got pulled out of school. But, anyway. Fun trend. Venus? No. 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 It's Mars. Smart? Girls go
I
to...
don't know. That doesn't really make sense. That's not a good rhyme.
Do we have any push the buttons? Push the button.
Yeah, we have a few.
Okay.
We have push the button, free delicious food, but it's bad for you. That's America.
Huh?
I guess it's not free. Okay, what about delicious food that's bad for you, but also you have to pay $15 for it?
Push. That sounds incredible. I love capitalism.
Let's go to Chipotle. Push the button. Amiable, amenable, and amicable all become the same word, but they're describing whatever the fuck Poor Things was.
Done. Then I have one word to describe that shit movie, and everybody just knows.
I'm changing it to Amenicable, and that is the final title.
That's a word. Oh, no, that's not a word. That's... Alright. Nobody's gonna want to click on that.
It's not. No one clicks on these.
True.
This is not SEO'd.
True. Candy bars?
What?
Mars for candy bars?
I don't...
They go to Mars to get more cars.
They'll
They'll
get-
get brand new Ford F-150s.
College is my favorite planet. Push the button. They make the book-accurate version of Poor Things, but they increase the amount of sex in the movie.
No, it's just a good plot in a porn.
Yeah, probably.
Or maybe it's not a good plot in a porn. I didn't read the damn book.
Yeah, it could still be terrible.
Girls go to college to get more knowledge. Men save them from sexism.
Push the button. Everyone goes to Mars for more candy bars. I picked that button. That's my button for tonight.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Therapy session.
Thanks for joining. It's over.
I appreciate you all once
Yeah.
again, and
We needed
please tag me, and next time you hear from me, I will have watched
We
one
will
of your shows.
stream more. We're
settled in.
It was a travel week, but we're here. I got my computer set up. This is where we're at. So we'll be doing some more streaming. We'll do Zachary Packery Persona streams, and we'll do more movie reviews. And
Muscles are in that same category of like quirky man shit. Like they're not muscles are really not attractive to me because
true.
they're associated
Women
with like
rarely want them.
silly boy shit. You know, like what are you doing? What are
no,
you doing?
No one is invested in muscles the way men are.
What are you doing? Was it powerlifting? Is that what you said?
Just bodybuilding in
Oh.
general.
Oh,
But yeah,
right, body.
powerlifting for sure.
No. Bodybuilding specifically, right?
Yeah. I mean, there are female bodybuilders too, but like the way that you picture it, the way, the 80s Schwarzenegger way is definitely like a man
What is he
thing.
doing? Who is this? What is that?
It's just for him. It's not for anybody else.
It's so fun.
You
It's
just wanna
for
do that.
men. Men though. Men will come up and be like, yo. Like, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I know.
Like, hey, bud, look at you.
As a gay, I love muscles. Yeah, it's for men. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just something about the big, buff, triangular, like, Johnny Bravo shape.
Because there are women muscles, too. And lesbians are also into muscles, but there's different muscles. It's not bodybuilding men muscles.
There's nothing better than a buff chick. I mean, nothing.
But if you just search buff chick, I don't know if it'll pull up. I assume it'll be like Avatar Korra. That's a buff chick, right? Like that's what.
These are all just like slim thick.
Yeah.
This ain't buff.
What?
I mean, they're kind of buff. Most of these pictures are actually protein powders and chickens.
Buff women are about like mass. That's what. That's right. It's like literally just like large. No one can see what you're looking at.
That's okay. They probably shouldn't be. They probably should. Anyway, were we gonna go?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I forgot to talk about the
Let's
stupid
go.
male gaze comment I was fighting with someone about.
Kronk, Johnny Bravo, both of those actually fun.
Yes!
Anyway.
The things I love about men are in Kronk. Not
yes, the Kronk.
in Johnny Bravo.
Not in Johnny Bravo.
But definitely Kronk. I forgot. The male gaze versus the male gaze. We should go. I had the stupidest fucking comment. Anyway, one guy decided to tell me that the male gaze was women viewing men shirtless because it's the opposite of how
Allison fights people on Reddit sometimes.
only the really, really fucking dumb ones. But he was like, it's the male gaze because the men are shirtless. That's not the male gaze. And he's like, okay, well then why are the women ugly and the men shirtless? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's not what the female gaze is. No, I'm sorry, the female. That was you telling me the female gaze is that. The female gaze is men being shirtless, and I was like, no, it's not. It's not. And he was like, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is, because men don't want to see that. I'm like, ooh, I got bad news for you. Men are the only one that want to fucking see that.
It's only men probably wanting to see that.
Good night.
Good night.
Done.
Good night,
Thank
everybody.
you. You're all wonderful.
We'll be back. Thanks for watching that hobo video.
Getting drunk.
We're gonna go watch Avatar. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. We'll see you. Maybe we'll drag Thomas and Kate on here at some point when they're back. Goodbye.
Pay me, please.
God damn it.